what if I told you that that spinning masquerade you see there has nothing inside it? You would think I was crazy, right? Have a look again. How can this be possible? How can a masquerade be dancing all by itself?
Somebody's in there, shaking, 1, 2, 3, and they turn it. No one was in there. You know, this is the beauty of voodoo to me. I mean, I don't know, people might say it's a trick.
Everything I was seeing before me went against the laws of physics, and I really couldn't explain it.
It shows how Africans are powerful, and we have to use it in the right way. You know, we just don't have to be scared of our own culture and history.
Those who practice voodoo believe that there is a visible and an invisible world, and that those worlds are intertwined. Death for them is a transition to the invisible world. So our predecessors.
Welcome to Igungboha. Igungboha stands as the ancestral home of many clans and ethnic groups, both within Edo land and beyond. Obara Tokbe, he said, these artworks you see represent a chief paying homage to the Oba of Benin. The guild of Igungboha is overseen by Chief Oba Sogeni Igungboha, who manages the guild on behalf of the Oba of Benin. This is Adesuwa and Ahmed. Of course, I have spoken about Adesuwa and Ogyobo before, a story that happened around Benin and Ubuluku, so there's no need to repeat their story here. The architectural structures in these environs are captivating. The thickness of the doors and the intricate carvings speak volumes about our ancestors and their highly advanced skills. The people of Igungboha are known as Iviogun because they are the custodians of Ogun, the god of iron, and all its usage. Furthermore, the phrase Edigunebere originates from Benin. Since the days of Igodomigodo, blacksmithing has always been a vital tradition. So, Nogunokaya Sevegbe simply means whatever Ogun decrees over iron must stand. In Edo language, blacksmiths are called Agbede or Ogyogun. I personally came from the lineage of Agbede and Edonogun, where the use of Ogun takes precedence. What I am doing right now is called Kwekwe in Edo language, what the English people call bellows. When you pump this, the fire flows straight into the coal, intensifying the heat. This is the lamp known as Ukpa or Gofigbo in Edo language. It serves as the street lightning in Benin over 600 years ago. This innovation astonished the European explorers who described Benin as a city, having seen organized street lights for the first time in this part of West Africa. Here is the final stage of the work you saw earlier, the Ebe and Ukpa or Gofigbo, the royal ceremonial sword and traditional lamp. Benin people have worked iron for over 2,000 years through iron ore that are obtained and processed here. This is the land gun called Owewe in Edo language. It is produced by the people of Igungboha and it is used during burial ceremonies or major celebrations. Chains, spoons, and everything related to irons are made here. Words such as Ogon Kalodenohui, Ogon Yagbogo, Ogon Yagbegbo originated in Benin because this guild existed and made things related. These chains are used for piling wood, bending timber logs, and serve as multipurpose functions. These implements are not just tools, they are war implements, ceremonial objects, farm implements, and household items that have shaped our way of life. Meeting Chief Oba Sogeni Igungboha was an enlightening experience. I also discovered that our great Edo musician Akobegi traces his origin to this home, as his father Chief Osonlaye of Benin Kingdom is today the oldest man in the family of Igungboha. The people of Uneme migrated from this great house. In fact, Uneme was founded by a son of Igungboha who migrated from Benin. Ugboha in Esan land was founded by a man named Ogbede who also migrated from this great house. Agbede was also founded by two brothers. After a dispute, one crossed the river Niger and settled in what became known as Agbede, while the other settled in present-day Kogi State. Amazingly, 80% of Oka people in Anambra State today traces their roots back to this house in Benin. Anegbete people also migrated from here. In my next episode, I'll tell you about the great warrior Enowe Igungboha and the incredible role he played in defending the Benin Kingdom. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and comment for more.
feminine power versus white man myths.
Where witches come into their power, which is really just a way of saying feminine power. But feminine power is terrifying to people who are in charge and whose only claim to being in charge is that they're men. And in this country, that is the strong-jawed white man savior. And this is the most dangerous stereotype we have. And generations upon generations upon generations of men of all races have been raised to glorify and to accept this standard of masculinity as the epitome of what you're supposed to aspire to. And it's usually the image throughout history has always been kind of like a soft-spoken killer. If you watch action movies or if you go to the movies nowadays and you see the coming attractions, they all have this stereotype, this unassuming, handsome, young, blonde man who finds himself in some kind of trouble where he doesn't want to, but he has to kill a bunch of people in order to save the dog or something like that. And this hero has been built up and given permission by the other myth, the myth of white Jesus, of God as a white man. And so you have these double forces working that indoctrinate us all into believing that all our problems can be solved with the right white man in charge. Or doesn't have to be the right one, it could be anyone, which is how we got Donald Trump. He, as much as was elected, was cast as president. He has no experience as president. His experience is as spokesmodel and, just a front man for a bunch of brands. And so as president, that seems to be his role. He's like the mascot of Project 2025. It doesn't seem like it's this blueprint is supposed to work. If it's working, it's fucking everything up. That seems to be the whole ball of wax.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations to you and yours. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101. Brought to you by, powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Voodoo Day. We were inspired by National Voodoo Day in Benin, and we are led by our Black spiritual community members. New Orleans International Voodoo Day is a day of collective remembrance and spiritual reparation that is preceded by a symposium and includes a procession to monuments at the sites of slavery in New Orleans, a ritual to account for and seek abolition for the city's and the country's participation in the institution of slavery. Homage to those ancestors who suffered through and survived the transatlantic slave trade, as well as honor and appreciation for the achievements of those who came out of this oppression. 2 days of education, May 23rd and 24th, 2026, creative expression, elevation, cultural exchange, and above all, healing. Through authentic voodoo traditions handed down through generations, we offer a path to healing from the ongoing ramifications of slavery and racism in the United States. Through an international partnership, New Orleans International Voodoo Day becomes a major event in New Orleans, bringing peace, relief, and healing, and connecting New Orleans with Benin, Haiti, the major points of the transatlantic slave trade and hubs of voodoo, as well as all nations where African traditional religious systems are practiced, and in a healing circuit, drawing visitors from around the world. We certainly do continue to invite you as well as show great appreciation for your showing up at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, weeknights, in a social media platform near you or by way of the universal URL link, which I usually scroll at the very beginning of the show. It's scrolling now at the very bottom of your screen. And we certainly do invite you to continue to visit us at www.vodoudoy.org, voodooday.org, vodouday.org, for more information and updates as it relates to our May 23rd and 24th, 2026, our third annual International New Orleans Voodoo Day. We're certainly grateful for your live participation here now in the chat. For those of you who continue to show up and show love and support, greetings, community member Daniel Neal. We certainly appreciate you. Greetings and salutations. Ray Alexander, we certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. Greetings, Chris Garza. We certainly appreciate your coming through and coming by. And we certainly do appreciate the time and commitment that our co-hosts and team members of NOIVD, as well as community members of La Source, who come and help co-host this podcast with me nightly. Our beloved member, Bianca Johnson Plessy, we certainly appreciate you, and we will unmute you momentarily. Our first priest and armor bearer, Joshua Nylan Tanner, we certainly appreciate your participation and support. Elder Reggie, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth. On this platform, we identify as Green Soap. We certainly appreciate your participation and support. And my beloved Queen Mother, Sister Toni Val Martinez, we certainly do appreciate you taking time off from your grandchildren and now to be present here with us. Picking up on our narrative where we left off on the Nat Turner Rebellion and its subsequent effect on the health and wellness of southeastern Virginia inhabitants, but ultimately around the South. And we've also taken time to address regional nuances to Louisiana and New Orleans specifically. In our last episode, we were introducing social and cultural life in the city, and particularly in New Orleans. Cities also provide access to social and cultural activities, particularly on Sundays, traditionally designated as a day of rest for enslaved people. One Sunday visitor to New Orleans described witnessing vast numbers of enslaved men, women, and children assembled together on the levee, drumming, fifing, and dancing in large rings. Another visitor described a similar Sunday assemblage, a crowd of 500 or 600 people formed into circular groups within a public square to dance, sing, and chant. By facilitating the exchange of West African, European, and Native American traditions, these assemblies laid vital groundwork for the development of voodoo, second lines, Mardi Gras Indian culture, and jazz in New Orleans. In 1817, New Orleans government passed an ordinance banning slave assemblies except in places and times designated by the mayor, giving rise to weekly and officially sanctioned and police-supervised assemblies in Congo Square. Many businesses catering to enslaved people. One New Orleans newspaper, the Daily Crescent, complained that the churches, restaurants, barbershops, saloons, and ice cream shops that served the enslaved were so crowded on Sundays that it was difficult for the white passerby to elbow through the crowds standing outside. Selling alcohol to enslaved people was illegal, but many taverns did so anyway. Not a street nor corner could be passed, complained the New Orleans Bee, another local journalistic outlet here in the city, without encountering these magazines of degradation. Urban enslaved people accessed resources and freedoms rarely available to their rural counterparts. They lived and worked alongside immigrants, poor white people, and free black people, which promoted the exchange of information and anti slavery throughout. And I quote, I would rather live in New Orleans than any other place in the world, unquote, remarked one Louisiana field hand, explaining that life was gayer there and had more society. And for their part, Louisiana slaveholders perceived their cities undermined racial control. The atmosphere of the city is too life giving and creates thought, one New Orleans visitor remarked. The city, with its intelligence and enterprise, is a dangerous place for the slave. He acquires knowledge of human rights by working with others who receive wages when he receives nothing. Rural enslaved people fled into cities continuously. Some found work while disappearing into urban anonymity, while others tried to escape the South entirely by sneaking abroad on outgoing ships. Advertisements for these urban fugitives, printed daily in New Orleans newspapers, offer fleeting glimpses into these rebellious lives. A runaway slave advertisement for Nat Turner warned that he was concealed in the city, would no doubt alter his name, and might try going abroad a steamboat by posing as a ship waiter or cook. Lydia's enslaver believed that she was harbored by someone in the city and will very likely try to get on some boat. To pursue these urban fugitives and counteract the freedoms that urban enslaved people enjoyed, Southern municipal governments invested in elaborate policing systems. Tellingly, the nation's first municipal police departments were created in slave-holding cities. New Orleans, Charleston, Richmond, and Savannah each had full-time, publicly funded police forces by 1806. In contrast, New York City wouldn't create a full-time police force until 1945. In many respects, New Orleans' antebellum police force resembled modern police. They carried weapons, wore blue uniforms, performed street arrests, and patrolled the city night and day. Slaveholding cities instituted elaborate slave pass and slave curfew systems. In New Orleans and Baton Rouge, any enslaved person found outdoors without a signed pass or found outdoors after dark was liable to be arrested, whipped by the police, and jailed until their owner reclaimed them. Every Louisiana urban area also constructed a designated penal space for enslaved people. New Orleans slave prison was massive. By 1840, there was usually some 200 to 300 incarcerated enslaved people within the city on any given day, significantly larger than the population of Louisiana's state penitentiary. Yet, for every new police procedure, urban enslaved people developed new strategies for evading municipal law enforcement. They dodged police while sneaking into taverns and illicit gatherings. They forged slave passes to circumvent pass and curfew regulations. On occasion, enslaved people even got friends and family out of prison by paying poor white people to impersonate their owners. Rates of urban slaveholding declined precipitously in the late antebellum period, due in part to rising immigration rates and the growing availability of low-cost immigrant labor. From a peak population of 23,448 enslaved people in 1840, New Orleans' enslaved population had declined to 13,385 by 1860. By the outbreak of the Civil War, immigrant wage workers had largely replaced enslaved people in many of New Orleans' menial and service industries. Slaveholders, it would seem, were all too happy to relocate enslaved people to the countryside, thereby avoiding the many contradictions and challenges to their rule that urban slavery engendered. And certainly, Congo Square continued to be, and continued to this day to be, a thorn in the side of the establishment in terms of our ability to gather there, to communicate, to vend and share the spoils of our crops and our craft and handiwork, but also to commute information about maroon encampments, resources, um, those who might, require assistance on their escape to freedom. And as we've told in many times in the story of the maroon encampments out in the bayou, particularly going towards New Orleans East and St. Milo, we already had a well established cultural reference of coming and going from enslavement by way of the maroon arteries through the bayous, coming in, doing our work, tending our jobs, but then escaping for periods of a time to create and build family and community out in the wilderness, at that time considered the wilderness and the bayou. And so I'm going to now please bring in my beloved co-host, Queen Mother, Sister Toni Val Martinez, Elder Reggie Green Soap, beloved Joshua Nylan Tanner, and Bianca Johnson Plessy. Greetings and salutations, you all.
Peace and blessings. Hello, everyone on the panel and all the people in the listening area. I hope y'all having a good night. I'm kind of hoarse. It was another wild weekend with the kids and the grandkids. So when the slave masters came in out the plantation, they always had to bring a slave or two with them for the journey from areas in Mississippi and all over Louisiana. And when they came into New Orleans, that slave job was to find out as much information as he could on what's happening in the world. And when he got back home, he was the most popular person on the plantation because he had to relate everything back to them about what he learned when he was in New Orleans or on the way to New Orleans. So the journey with the master was a very important position, and they often manipulated the situation to make sure the right slave went. They wasn't trying to send Gomer Pyle slave with the master. They want to send the smartest slave so he would be sure to bring back the information. And also the slaves that worked in the city learned how to count money and read and write on a slick. But they learned how to do it and not expose it. They learned that easier than the slaves on the plantation. And it wasn't as many people to go back and say, well, I saw your slave counting, I saw your slave writing. Because it just was the city was just so crowded and busy back in those days. How you doing, Brother Joshua, what you say?
Good day, good day, Toni. Good evening, everybody that's out there listening, and Bianca and Elder Reggie, Divine Prince. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with what you said. The travel in and out of the cities and the main trade ports and locations where they trade their goods that they would make on the plantation. A lot of those times, it was traveled with a slave that was that came and delivered messages and also collected messages and also informed and kept watch of the goods and of everything of the business that was happening. So they had a heightened awareness of what was going on and how slavery really was operating and who had power and who didn't have power and how much power this plantation had versus that plantation. And they got to see, I mean, I could only imagine what they was able to see because of their access to all those, just being able to leave the plantation and being able to be there as a witness, an observer, and all the jobs and duties that they was responsible for. What would you say, Elder Reggie?
Yes. Blessing, Brother Joshua. Thanks, Divine Prince, for also for such a great show tonight. Great topic. Sister Toni, maybe you gargle with a little hot water. I believe that'll help your throat. And Sister Bianca, we appreciate all you've done over the weekend. But what I would like to add from Divine Prince excellent reading, there's a system that's still in play today, and I get to see it out in the rural area where I live at, and it's called convict leasing. I just want to read one paragraph. Convict leasing was a system of forced labor that emerged in the southern United States after the Civil War, where states leased prisoners to private entities for labor in industries like the railroads and agriculture. This practice began as early as 1844 in Louisiana and expanded significantly post 1865. Now, with that being said, if it started in Louisiana, probably in New Orleans in 1844, and the reason I say that it's still alive today, sometimes when I'm driving home and I'm on the interstate system, I see prisoners picking up the trash, cutting the grass. I'm pretty sure they're being leased out to do that. And also, some of the grocery stores up here have the prisoners that come in and clean up the store at nighttime. And so that convict leasing is a system that was braided back then, and it is still in effect today. Mr. Bianca, you like to add anything?
So when you said that, like, when you said that, like, when you riding around and then they have prisoners that pick up trash and clean up the grocery stores and stuff at night when we don't see it, would you think that's like kind of relating to what she was just talking about when they have the slaves that went out there with the slave masters, and they still be able to see and be exposed and learn a lot out there, and they're able to bring it back to back to the slaves, to the slave owners. But do you think that would be kind of like the same situation with the prisoners? Like the prisoners is kind of locked away in prison, but from what you're explaining, that they get a chance to go out there, still be able to learn or pick up anything out there and bring it back of the knowledge and stuff that they see and learn.
Excellent point. I believe that is so, because I think in the penal system they have a thing called a trustee. And a trustee kind of get to ride with the sheriff or the deputy at that time, and do get to see in it and bring stuff back to the prison system and say, well, guys, I saw this, I saw that. So I'm in agreement with you. I think it's the same as Sister Toni put it out there. Yes.
I communicated, I didn't work with over 500 brothers in various prisons around the United States for 15 years. And I sent them all kind of information, whatever they was interested in. And they told me a lot of stuff. And I visited prisons for like the Eid and special events they had at Angola. I went to Hunt. So many prisons to go talk to the Nation of Islam prisoners, basically, because they had where outside guests could come in. And when the prisoners, they know sometimes more what's going on outside than we know.
Most definitely.
And when they on that highway detail, and they know they're gonna be on the same highway, they would have some of their relatives leave bags of stuff for them on that highway that they would find like JJ on Good Times. I find things and find on the highway. You know, and the convict leasing was another way after slavery to keep them enslaved, because blacks was picked up for the stupidest stuff and put in jail. He stepped off the sidewalk and put them in jail so that they can lease them out. And they was leased out to do some awful, horrible work. Who you think drained them swamps to make the new land for the rest of New Orleans? Convicts.
Yeah.
That was the first new form of slavery for the masses that decided not to stay behind on the plantations like the sharecroppers did. So you had the ones that stayed to sharecrop. They take half of the harvest and give the other half to the master. They got their house. They got a little plot of land to do what they wanted on and maybe make them some extra money that they can spend in a store that they got credit from, and they could never pay their bill. So they was imprisoned by that store.
The credit system. Yeah.
Yes. And it was a vicious circle. But the ones that did choose to leave the plantation, they got them for loitering, for not having a job, for standing too long before crossing the street. All kind of stupid laws they made up to get them back in prison so they can work them for nothing, because convicts and convict leasing at that time didn't get paid for it. Today, some places pay them $1 or 50 cents a day to go out and work. And the convicts vie for that position. Like Elder Reggie said, the what you call them, Elder Reggie?
Trustees.
The trustees. All of them people is trusted, so that they trusted, even though they have a sheriff deputy or two with them with guns while they doing this, so nobody runs away. Don't never slow down when you see them on the highway. Don't never rubberneck, because the deputies will think you about to do something fishy to grab a inmate. You know, they call them work details now. They don't call it convict leasing. They call it work details.
But Mr. Toni, I want to add one thing, and my mind is going to the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. After the Emancipation Proclamation, they had to put the 13th Amendment in, but when they put it in the wording toward the bottom, if my mind serves me right, we have our freedom not unless we are incarcerated. So basically, when you get incarcerated, you are a slave.
Correct. You are very correct. That's what it said. No man shall be a slave unless he is incarcerated.
It was just a transfer. That's
And
all
that's
it
why
is.
they come up with locking everybody up just to look at them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
happening again today.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With ICE and homeless communities that's out here, houseless communities, people that's all over this country because of the economic situation that's happening and the systematic racism that still exists in this country that is pushing people out of opportunities and putting people in situations that don't want to be in, but they're surviving, but trying to find a way to survive. But I'm just hoping that that's not happening all over again.
Well, yeah, they have the thing is called prison industry.
Mm-hmm.
Industrial
Prison
prison.
industry. And they have put so many companies out of business. Do you know they make all police equipment in prison? In a prison?
Mm-hmm.
The bulletproof vests, the uniforms, all of that is made in a prison. They made Victoria's Secret negligees and stuff in a prison. They've started putting the prisoners on telemarketing calls. I have a good
Mm-hmm.
friend. He was a prison inmate, and that's what he did. And guess what they had to do
Mm-hmm.
when they put him on? They had to
What's
enter
that?
your personal data
Well,
into, like, from the DMV.
Mm-hmm.
It's a prison that really enters all that data into the prison, into the DMV system. They get the picture, they get the address, the phone number. And when they started doing that, the problem was you had some people with a where they could remember stuff,
yeah.
a photogenic memory. And some of them guys was calling women that they saw was pretty on their driver's license picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that made them start saying this is a call from a prison inmate
Mm-hmm.
on the phone.
Yeah, but Sister Tony, I like to add to what Joshua said earlier. And in my mind now is going to our Governor Landry, who went to Angola State Prison about maybe 2 weeks ago and took one of the camps that was called Camp J. He took that. I guess they're renovating it, and it's going to be for ICE. Any people Trump and them feel is illegal or for whatever reason that they snatched off the street, they're going to put them out there in Angola. I just think that is a bad mixture right there, and I don't know why the governor would do something like that. But it's all seem to be the same thing, to either just reincarcerate the population, really to reslave the population.
Now, one thing, Angola was already overcrowded.
Mm-hmm.
Overcrowded, not enough room. But Camp J was unfit for anybody to stay in. That's why it was empty. And Angola didn't remodel it and make it fit. But all of a sudden, in a week's time, it's ready for somebody to live in, it's fixed, it's repaired for the so-called illegal aliens to go in there. They're already there. They got like 300 and some of them already in there. Those are the ones that's going to go out and be leased out to these farms to do the work that they used to doing, picking peaches, picking this, that, and the other thing. And they're going to be incarcerated there, and companies and farmers going to lease them out and pay the state the money and not them. So it's going to be kind of big leasing all over again. But they're going to use the people that they calling illegal aliens that already know the farming technique. And that's what they thought they was going to do at Alligator Alley and house thousands of them in there to lease out. Because you know Florida got all them peach orchards and orange orchards and all that kind of stuff. But the Native Americans there took them to court and they had to shut it down. But they still fighting to get it back open. the United States government already know when Trump said those people were taking black jobs. I think somebody then told them, you're not going to get blacks to do them jobs. So you better hold on to some of these illegal aliens. You don't hear them talking no more about no illegal aliens being flown out. You don't hear that. They used to advertise every time a plane load was leaving out so that his Trumpsters would know that they was doing a job. You don't hear that no more. And Angola not the only prison they doing that too. They about to send some to Hunts and other prisons.
Don't they have something built out in Generette?
Yes. Those empty prisons that they closed down, they're going to open them back up for profit. And they're going to lease out those inmates, illegal aliens from all over, and they're going to keep the money because they for hire. That's what it's going to. That and all these farmers who meet now and saying they won't last a year. Nobody from China or Japan is buying their soybean or their rice or nothing. They used to sell to those agencies that fed the children in Africa. Trump that got that closed down. They was interviewing this one farmer, and with tears in his eyes, he said his rice is gonna rot. It's gonna ferment in the silo because he can't sell it to nobody. And if he can't sell it, he can't get no money. They want Trump to pay them for the crops that they're not selling. That's what they're meeting about now. But here go the kicker. The government wants them to lose their farm because J.D. Vance got a company called Acres something. They ready to buy up these farms. So the farmland gonna belong to the government, and the convicts gonna work them. And they gonna have it's gonna be plantation all over again. But the big massa gonna be in D.C. And the prisons just gonna have overseers. It's some kind of company. He waiting. Every time somebody go bankrupt and want to sell a farm, his company gonna buy it. And you know they're not gonna buy it at a fair price. They buying the equipment and everything. So them farms are gonna belong to the government, and then the government can regulate what food comes and goes. And you know it's always a bad thing when the government is over your food. He can starve the people. They already had a movie like that called Soylent Green with what that boy name is Charleston Heston. He played in it, and come to find out, the crackers they were giving the people, the government was dishing out to the people for food, was actually made of human flesh.
Well, Sister Toni, that's a deep
yeah. We getting ready to go into some serious times. I'm a watcher. I watch that stuff. I go deep. I dig deep in the internet. Because a lot of places ain't reported. I told my daughter while we was in Broussard, Louisiana partying, they done found 5 bodies in the Houston swamp. And they say no foul play, except for the 24-year-old black girl, because her body was chopped up. So you mean to tell me 4 people decided to go in the swamp and unalive themselves in a matter of a week, right behind each other? I don't think so. So
No, I agree. I think that too, and yeah, I'm aware of it. Yes. But Sister Toni, we getting that time. I'm gonna go ahead and close out.
mm-hmm.
Sister Toni, you heard?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah, I can hear you.
Once again, okay, I want to give a big thanks out to our voodoo organization, New Orleans International Voodoo Day, Divine Prince, Brother Joshua, Sister Bianca for the ceremony we done yesterday. And at that ceremony, we do give back to voodoo to the city of New Orleans. And we came out as a unit, thanks to Mumbo Sally giving out the call. And we opened it up on this very platform to those in the listening ear in the community, like those in the chat room, to come out and partake in a ritual with us. But with that being said, there was something that happened toward the end of the ritual. I already had left the space, but I was informed about it. And one of my relatives wind up getting energies brought over her body. But anyway, so we had a talk today over the phone. And she said, yeah, I know that incident happened. But she said, when I came out of it, I could see around the gate where we was at, there's all kind of negative energy, negative forces. And basically, when we were doing our ceremony, they was on the outside looking in. So whatever we are doing and we're holding voodoo down, we're moving in the right direction. And only thing that I gathered from that real incident in real time is that we got to continue what we're doing. We have to continue to build community. We have to continue to hold each other accountable for trying to hold the wall up against these negative forces and negative energies. With that, I say, thanks again, guys. Lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that binds the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. We must stay vigilant. We must stay a collective family with ups, downs, and all around. With that, I say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Good night, everyone. We love you all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Sure.
Do you know his name? They whisper it in the prisons, in the alleys, in the graveyards where the forgotten lie. Criminel. He is not mercy. He is not patience. He is the baron who wears no mask of civility, the executioner of promises broken, the shadow behind every crime. When the chains of justice fail, he rises. When the innocent cry out, his laughter cracks the air like gunfire. He walks with a sack over his shoulder, heavy with the restless souls of the guilty. On his belt hang severed heads, trophies of those who thought they could escape him. Rum laced with fire, peppers that burn the tongue of the brave. These are his delights. Red and black flames dance in his presence. And when he arrives, the dead do not stay silent. They rise, staggering, to serve. Bawan Criminel is the law of iron. He does not wait for your confessions. He is your confession. Every drop of blood spilled unjustly feeds his hunger. Every crime whispered in the night sharpens his grin. Do you know who he is? He is the judgment you cannot bribe, punishment you cannot outrun, the living terror of the grave. He is Criminel. When he comes for you, there is no appeal, only fire, only ash, only silence. Do you know his name? They whisper it in the prisons, in the alleys, in the graveyards where the forgotten lie. Criminel. He is not mercy. He is not...
Please, allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this white in my DNA, yet I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the table, strip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees. It's time you pay for your dirt and your showtime. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she's straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit West. He looks me in my eye and says, "You only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside." I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. We are the children of the ancestors.